Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode. I'm not going to say the whole intro here because this is kind of like a pre-intro to the actual video. There were some technical difficulties with the storage on the camera that I was using, which was just my phone. A slight bit of the video is lost, but it wasn't a whole lot, so I'm just going to edit together everything and release it. As for how I'm using the computer still, I just put it all back together on the keyboard and kept the display separately. And I'm using my monitor for a display, so essentially it's a desktop with a built-in keyboard right now. Bye-bye. Alright, I guess let's get into the video. Hello everybody, my name is Unushima and welcome back to another episode of Unushima Gaming. Today we're doing another tech thingy. We're taking apart a HP Pentium 15 laptop. There's actually a fairly simple task. So first off, we're going to start on the other side of the laptop, obviously. And you'll see I've already taken these out. That's because I've stripped this down and taken it apart and put it back together to make sure that I am capable of doing it without giving any false information. First off, we're going to want to take the non-slip rubber grips off the bottom, and then you'll end up with 5 screws underneath both. Not both. You'll have 4 underneath one and 1 underneath the other. Obviously, you're going to want a screwdriver kit. Clumsy me. You're going to want a screwdriver kit. I have I think the brand is iFixit. I got the kit at my local Menards. About $20. It comes with all sorts of different screwdriver bits. Come on out of there. This is the kit itself. This is the lid to the kit. I'm just using it to divide up my screws. And then there's going to be 2 more screws on the bottom at the front side. And then you're going to want to disassemble the outer protective casing. It's easiest on the Pentium to go in from the back here. Okay, so we got both corners separated. It should be pretty easy to pop the rest of it off. And you've got your bottom casing. Set that down below the desk here. And now we're at the innards. And this is a lot more complex than the Stream 14, which is a simple small motherboard with 1 RAM slot, no fan or heatsink. This also has, it's split up in a lot more different parts. I find it easiest to start with these 2 here. This one, which is your, let me switch my bit here. This is your solid state storage drive. Let's keep those there actually. Like I said, this one's going to have 3 screws in it. 2 on this side, and then you're going to want to remove just this single screw here. These other 2 screws hold the circuit board onto this frame here. And obviously you're going to want to flip that up, pull out the ribbon, and then there's your solid state drive. Set that aside. Here we have our this is a storage slot for an external storage. I have, let me find it real quick. This micro adapter. It just slides in there. That's going to have 1 screw in it. And then we can move on to the battery, which this one will have 4 screws. Two on either side at the base, and then 2 on either side of where it connects into the motherboard. Now this battery you're going to lift up like that, and it'll disconnect. Set that aside. And we're going to first disconnect the buttons to the trackpad. The trackpad itself, let's get that out from under there, and then the keyboard. That way we can lift the motherboard out pretty easily. The motherboard itself is held in by 3 screws, which we can take out around the hinges, but we're going to hold off for that. Right now we're going to remove the 2 USB ports. This is held in by 2 screws. And then you can disconnect your cord or your ribbon from the motherboard. And then lift out, being careful not to break any of the circuitry. We can set that aside. Now, first here, this wire is held in with a piece of plastic that's glued to the internet card, or the Wi-Fi card. So you're first going to want to unscrew the Wi-Fi card. It's held in with 1 screw. And disconnect that so it's out of your way when you take up the motherboard. And just hold that there for now. And as I said, the motherboard is held in by 3 screws. 1 down here, at the bottom corner underneath the fan. 1 right over here. Above, next to the ribbon that holds in the, or connects into the aux. What did I just snap out of there? I snapped a clip. Okay, well, that doesn't matter. To me anyway. We can then disconnect the aux. You can do that. You can either disconnect the aux, or you can leave it in there. It's on a pretty small ribbon, so taking the aux out, you can just leave it connected to the motherboard too. Let's take the aux out real quick. It's also 1 screw. And this one's a little bit finicky. Here we go. Set that aside. Now we're going to want to disconnect some things from the motherboard before we start lifting it up. So I'm going to grab these two pieces from my kit. These are just the easiest to disconnect some of the hard cables like these guys, because you can set them in on either side. Get it in there. And then push up. Very careful with your cabling. This goes to the DC charger port. The AC, there it is. And we can disconnect the fan here. And we're going to want to disconnect the speakers. And that should be the last of what we have to disconnect on the motherboard. Other than obviously the display, which is just another lift up tab. We can separate that. Now we should be able to lift the motherboard out. Being careful not to damage the heatsink. Am I connected somewhere? I shouldn't be. Okay. Here's my dilemma. We need to remove the fan first, which is held in by one screw right next to the hinge. And then we can lift that out and slide it up. Set that aside. Now we can lift up the motherboard. And we can set that aside. So now, we're at a pretty good stage here. This is where we're going to need to remove the hinges. Not remove them necessarily, but separate them from the keyboard. Now that's going to be 4 screws in total. Obviously, the color of the computer shouldn't matter for the specs on the inside, so long as it's a Pentium 15 laptop from HP. It should be more or less the same. Ooh, I guess I can use one of these guys to lift up the hinges. And then we can just pull them up. There we go. Pull the Wi-Fi card out of the side speaker here. We can pull up our DC adapter, or not adapter, but plug-in port, and reunite that with the motherboard. And then we can remove the speakers. Luckily, this one was a lot easier to remove than the Stream 14, so the port's intact. And you've got 2 speakers there. Set that aside. I'm not going to move the trackpad on this one. But I am going to get into the LCD display here. Okay, so at this point I started taking apart the LCD display, and I have not taken apart the LCD display of the Pentium 15 laptop. So this is all more or less improvised, and I run into quite a few problems. For example, I don't take the casing for the hinges off before I attempt taking the siding of the front of the laptop. And that results in a problem. and then I had a few storage problems on my phone, which I was using for my camera, and so there are a few cuts in the video. This is where some of the stuff gets lost. I think it still works, though. I haven't finished editing it. I'm like at this point in editing it, and by that I mean this point in the video, obviously, but I think it'll still work. Obviously taking apart the LCD display is optional. I needed the Wi-Fi antenna, so if you're going to, want to use the internet, you'll have to take apart the LCD display, assuming you aren't just taking apart the laptop to upgrade it, and you're actually taking the parts out to build a desktop like I am. Other than that, the LCD display is optional for taking apart, and obviously, heads up with this one, this LCD display is very difficult to get apart. And the screen itself, there are 2 strips of adhesive tape on either side, so don't go trying to yank the screen out immediately. Just be careful, obviously, with taking anything apart. Anyway, back to the video. Which is as simple as separating back from the might be a little tougher than I thought, actually. A lot tougher than the Stream 14. Quite a bit tougher. Okay. Let's try not to mix those up. You're going to want to be careful not to damage or break the edge if you're putting the screen back together. You also want to be careful not to damage the LCD display or any of the components along the inside of the framework. Another thing you're going to want to be careful not to do is rip up the tape on the LCD screen that is glued to this protective layer. I don't know if you can hear it separating over the fan in the background. Oh no! I done did a crack on the screen there, or the protective thing. What's it called? I forget the terminology. Now it's going to be a little bit tricky to get this to snap out, because obviously you've got your hinge casing. I'm sure I could probably have separated the hinge casing. Okay, so you can pop off the hinge casing, and then it'll be fairly easy to separate that guy. Just be careful not to rip up this plastic there, as it's got adhesive on it. And then after that we can unscrew the hinges. Okay, so we got the hinges off. Each one consists of 3 screws. One here, one here, one here. And then there's a 4th smaller screw on this end which is on the top end of the screen. Did have a little bit of problem getting the hinges off. They were pretty hard to get off around these clips here, but I got them off nonetheless. I'm not going to be using this screen, so this being on the laptop doesn't matter to me. Removing this LCD screen, though, is a problem because on either side of the screen there's adhesive tape holding it in, but it is fairly easy to remove the Wi-Fi antenna. We simply remove the hinge and then pull it up past the clips here, which is a hard process, but it is possible. You just gotta take your time with it. Don't want to damage the screen, nor do you want to damage the wire. It's rather tough to get that wire through. You're gonna get a little bit of fraying like that. Not fraying, just damage to the outer casing. Just take your time and be careful with it and do as little damage as you possibly can. I just found, like literally just now, that the easiest way to do it is to take a flathead sideways, parallel with the wire, slide it underneath, and pull the wire up. And it does the least amount of damage. There's a clip I did some damage to. That clip was a little easier to remove. This clip's a little harder, but it's small, so this will be really easy. You just get the flathead behind it, pop it out. And then you're at your antenna. Now this might pose a problem. It does appear to go under the LCD screen a little bit. So we're going to pull up the framing. Sorry about that. I had a storage problem. You're gonna want to be very careful when removing the antenna framing. It's got adhesive on the bottom here, and there's a strip of adhesive that connects to the edge, and that goes underneath the LCD screen, so you're going to have to be very careful in separating that, taking quite a bit of time to pull that up safely without damaging the cord here. And then you'll have your Wi-Fi chip and antenna, and you can reunite that with your motherboard. And now we're just down to the webcam here, which is, as I mentioned in a previous episode, it's good to salvage for parts for a security system. Now this might be a little bit of a hassle. Let's see how much is connected with the LCD screen. It seems this is the only connection. The rest of this is sealed in with plastic, it looks like. And the webcam itself is probably just glued down with adhesive. This ribbon connects, and it appears to continue on down here, probably connecting to this power cord right here. So we're just gonna sever the cord right underneath the LCD screen. Because we're going to want to be able to rewire the webcam. Let me grab some scissors. Okay, back with some scissors. Let's prop that up. Grab another bit. Oh wait, it's not a good bit for that. Here we go. Pop up that. We can slide underneath. And sever. Connection of this thing came out. Let's prop that up over here then. Oh, and around either side. So I'm gonna have to that didn't work. We're just fraying the cord here. So I guess I'll clip it there. Get out from underneath the LCD display. Doesn't appear to be broken, so it should be good. And we're now have a severed webcam. Let's see. Get this cord out. There we go. Now we can pull out the webcam. Obviously, we want to be careful not to damage the frame or the circuitry while we separate the adhesive. Now we've got up our webcam. Just enough wire to rewire. Cool. Now that's about the basics of how you tear apart and tear down a HP Pentium 15. LCD display still works, so if I want to connect this, I can. But I'm going to set up my own system. So, or my own what's the casing? Yeah, my own casing. We'll just go with that. So we should be good now. We can return our drill bits. That's why that one's missing, because I put it back in the wrong spot. This one goes here. And we've got that one. Now they're all back. Alright, so this is just, yeah, iFixit. That's the name of the brand. It's a really good casing, or not casing, bit set. And this is really good. It's one of those. You can go around a corner. Keep drilling. I'm not sponsored in any way, I really like this, so I want to show it off. Keep the lid for keeping the screws separate. that should be here. Okay. Well, thanks for watching this video. If it helped you in any way, leave a like or a comment. And if you want to see some gaming videos and possibly more tech stuff, subscribe. And see you all in the next episode of Unushima Gaming. Bye.